Hello, welcome to episode 254 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,000 more movies you must see before you die. It's been a long time since we've done one of these together, and we have tried to start it a few times at this point. Bit rusty on making the videos together. Apparently, there's a bit of contention among that. Connie seems to think we filmed a video recently, and I'm sure it never happened. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the 1994 classic, The Lion King. So I'm going to try to steer us away from the new Lion King. I don't want to make this video about comparing it to the new version, but we did see the new film by Jon Favreau in the cinema a few weeks ago. And my overriding feeling coming out of that film was, I want to watch the original, because that's the better version. And so a couple of days afterwards, we watched it. And now we're going to talk about it. Now, I love this film. I'd love to do like a proper in-depth, like 30-minute video on it, talk about all the backstory, the production, the making of, but I've never really dived into the making of this film, and I kind of feel like I don't want to. I almost feel like it should just stay its own magical kind of thing. Like, I don't want to learn too much about it almost, which is unlike me.
Because the making, well, where it came from is obviously a bad place.
We'll touch on that very briefly, but yeah, so maybe one day I will, but we're just going to talk about the film and maybe some memories about it. So for me, I remember when it came out, it was a big deal and people were talking about it. I don't remember going to see it at the cinema, but I must have, because I went to see Beauty and the Beast in the cinema, which was a few years before that. My nan would always take me to the Disney film, so I must have seen it, but I don't remember or have a memory of seeing it in the cinema. I do remember getting the video, and I do remember the trailer for The Lion King, because it ended with one of those tags where it says, only in cinemas. And I thought, shit, like I thought that meant we're not going to release it on video either, so you have to see it in the cinema. And I got like kind of mild anxiety about it, because it was a huge film that year, for kids, obviously. So if you were that age, and so when did you first see it? Or was it just on video? Because for me, that was it.
No.
I got the videotape, watched it over and over again, basically.
It's probably my first memory of going to the cinema to watch a movie that I can remember, because I was 7 or 8 when it came out, since it was 94, depending on when in 94 it came out. It must have been 7 then. Yeah, I couldn't have been 8 because that was 95. Anyway, so 6 or 7, I guess. But I don't remember watching it in the cinema, but I remember just like a flash, or just the knowledge of being on our way to go and see it. Because I'm pretty sure that I went with my mom's ex and his sons that were around my age. That was before we moved to close to Trondheim, where we lived for years and years. That's all I can remember. I just know that I went to watch it in the cinema.
Okay.
That's all I remember. But I don't remember any like pictures or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or how I felt.
Yeah, I wonder.
And I watched it in Norwegian, of course.
Sure, so you always watched it in Norwegian.
Yeah.
So
the first time I ever watched it in English was with Luke a few years ago.
Yeah, that was like 2011, I think, when I first started collecting Blu-ray. This is definitely one of the first Blu-rays I ever picked up, was The Lion King. And I remember I was still slightly like, does HD really make a difference? And watching this, I was like, is a cartoon in HD going to make much difference? And I was like, whoa. It makes a lot of difference, and it looked amazing, and so that kind of got me getting the Disney Blu-rays and stuff. Anyway, so the film itself, grew up with it on video and watched it over and over again, loved it. It's just a great film, and the story, I believe, took elements from some Shakespeare story. I don't know which one, but I've read that a lot, that it does kind of have similarities with Shakespearean stories, and I can see that with the tragedy and it's a very well put together story. Like every single scene is like starting the next one onto something else. Like it doesn't feel like anything's wasted in this film. It's like an hour and a half, I think, something like that, 88 minutes. And so it breezes by. There's musical numbers. It's very much one of those musical Disney films. They're mostly all great, I think, like catchy and different. There's a variety of them, like the one Simba sings at the beginning, I Can't Wait to Be King, and then Scar's song, which is completely different. The opening scene is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the music for one thing, is just the Circle of Life song. I love how they brought that language into it. I don't know which language it is, some African language. I just love how it opens with that. It immediately sets the tone for where you are in kind of this story. And then seeing all the animals, you know, and stuff. And I did see the Honest trailer for Lion King, where
the old Lion King.
Yeah. And they're talking about how, like, you know, the opening Circle of Life sequence has, like, all the animals coming together and bowing down to the lions who would eat them otherwise, you know. So, but it's one of those things where for this story, you kind of, what are you looking up?
The language.
The language. Oh, you want to find
Swahili.
Swahili. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so I love how that opens with that. And that sequence, I think it's a perfect sequence, you know, the way that it just sets up the setting, the location, kind of the characters, not completely, but, you know, you get a sense of the hierarchy of the lions kind of being the rulers of the land, and the opening with Simba, and then poof, the title, The Lion King. It's right there.
It's very well made.
Yeah.
I wish it was very original.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Kimba, the white lion. I've seen a funny meme, which is the Lying King.
The lying.
The Lion King.
Liar.
So there was a manga, an anime called Kimba, the White Lion. I think there's other names for it too, in Japan, and it was very popular. And this was like, you know, 30 odd years, I think, before The Lion King. I don't know the exact dates, and I've only really looked into it, but it was decades beforehand.
In the 60s?
Yeah, I think 50s was the manga, maybe 60s was like the show. So if you, I've never really looked into it. It's almost like an urban legend, but if you look at like this video on YouTube that shows you all the visual, there's no urban legend. They took stuff for sure.
It looks so copied that it's not even like that. That shouldn't be.
Yeah, and
no.
You know, the people who made the film, like the directors, were like, we've not seen that before. We don't know what you're talking about. Even at the time when The Lion King came out, this was brought up, and Matthew Broderick, who voices the adult Simba, was like, I thought I was doing Kimba the White Lion, that show that I watched when I was a kid. Like, he thought he was playing Kimba when he was first approached about the role.
No.
So when he gave that interview, they weren't very happy about it. And also the timing of the creator of Kimba the White Lion passing away a few years before they were making The Lion King. So it all seems very sketchy. I think what happened was the people making this story took liberal inspiration and in some cases just taking shots and using those shots. I'm sure if we were to watch Kimba the White Lion, it's different in some aspects in terms of the story, the music, and the way it's all put into its own package. But it's undeniable that, and I didn't really want to go into it too much. It does.
No, but after hearing about it, it's just I can't
Yeah, I know.
It's.
Does it ruin the magic for you?
It ruins the magic of The Lion King. It's still like, to me, it's still my favorite Disney movie, I think, still. But it is ruined for me, yes. Because it's a lie. In King.
But I think what happened was, you know, they took liberal inspiration, and then when it was made public and people started talking about it, I think Disney as a corporation just said to them, just don't say anything. Don't say you knew about it because we can't have that on our image. I think that's probably what happened, is that Disney probably stepped in and tried to just be quiet and let's just move on and try and...
There's a difference between being inspired by something and just dead on copying it.
Yeah, there's you look at it, it's just...
Shots, like actual shots, like angles and
yeah.
Things they say, I think, as well. I mean, the lines themselves.
I don't know anything about lines. The video we saw was just like visual comparisons.
I'm sure there are lines in there as well.
I don't think so.
But it's just so copied that's, to me, yes, that's ruined. But now that that's been talked about, we can step away from it and review the movie as the way we viewed it before we knew.
It doesn't change much for me, I have to say there. And I did read that the estate of the creator of Kimba, like their family, or at least, you know, people who knew him, I think, said that he was a big fan of Disney, and they don't really see much wrong with it. I don't know if that makes it any better. I don't think it does, but at the same time, it's too good of its own thing for it to ruin it for me, if that makes any sense. I don't really agree with it, but I do feel like, and this is just assuming, I suppose, that I do feel like they're two very different things in terms of the execution. And so much of the great stories and films that we love are things that have borrowed other elements. It just so happens that this one is so ridiculously from one source, which I don't quite agree with, if that makes any kind of sense.
Borrow? Sure. Stealing?
Yeah, there's a whole...
To me, it's just plain stealing. If you want to see it as borrowing, sure, you can do that.
No, I'm saying...
It's wrong, so that's why I don't accept it.
No, I'm saying that other films borrow things. In this case, it's all from this one thing, and so I would agree with you that it is kind of... I would see it as stealing, in a sense, yeah.
I mean, it's... I don't know who came up with the line, steal like an artist... But basically what that means, it might have been Disney even who said, I don't know. I don't know who came up with it, but what that means is that you take small, tiny elements from different types of artists and arts and everything like that, and then you create it into your own.
Yes.
But there's no element in what you've created that makes it go, hang on a minute, that person did that thing. It can be like, oh, it reminds me a little bit of that person, but... I can see that it's original. Yeah. This is not an original movie.
I don't think you can say that because do you know the story? Do you know the story of Kimba?
I just saw the visuals of it.
Right, it could be very different.
The guy who played Simba thought he was doing Kimba. He grew up with Kimba.
Or he'd seen it when he was a kid.
Okay, but
and,
still.
You know, I don't think it was a case of him reading the Lion King script and going, oh, it's a Kimba movie. I think it was more a case of them saying, we want you to voice this lion called Simba. And he's like, oh, Simba? You know?
What would he say it in the interviews afterwards? You know, I
suppose it's a tricky... I'd love to know. This would make a really good movie, I think, a documentary, like going into it and kind of outlining things and kind of...
I don't want everyone to know about it. This is just your YouTube channel, so, you know, but I don't want the world, the entire world, to know what Disney has done by stealing this, because I don't want Disney to crumble. Because today's day and age, this would ruin them if everybody knew. If the right people knew, this would go all over. They would ruin them. It's going to be like I was about to say something bad. I can't say it.
Disney owns everything. They probably own me and you at this point. The nothing is going to...
Why are you pushing me?
Well, I wasn't meaning to push you. Disney are fine. I mean, this could be like, you know, Trump could tweet about Kimba and Disney would be fine.
Yeah, but that would probably make it disappear.
Right, so we're just going way off track here with Kimba and stuff. But
don't bring Trump into
it. I'll give you this to round off the Kimba discussion. I don't respect what they did with Kimba, the White Lion, but I do respect the finished film of The Lion King and the people who made it, because, you know, that comes from one place. Other elements come from a lot of different places. The music, the animation, the story, the writing. I really don't feel like they've taken lines from them. Maybe they have, I don't know. But either way, we're now talking about the film itself.
You can look it up yourself on YouTube.
Yeah, look it up for yourself. However
just
further you want to.
Just Kimba the Lion and Lion King or something like that,
and
then you can see like scene by scene together.
Yeah.
That's just what shocked me. So
yeah,
I mean, if you don't want to put much into it, that's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so
just my opinion.
I didn't really want to talk about it that much, but I guess it is a discussion to be had.
It's a big deal.
It is a kind of but for me,
they just remade it. So
for me, it doesn't ruin the film itself. It just kind of, you know. Anyway, right. So the film Lion King. Great characters, you know. The voice acting is, I think, I mean, it's different
except for grown Simba.
So you don't like Matthew Broderick? That's
no. He's good. Actually, in the movie itself, it's good. But you know the bloopers? It's really bad.
The bloopers?
Yeah, there's like a outtakes thingy.
Yeah, but that's not part of the film. That's just
no, but it's still him. And when we watched that before we watched the real movie, I was like, ooh, the voice acting isn't really good, is it? But in the movie itself, it's decent. It's good.
So you're now reviewing the outtakes of the film, I suppose.
It's part of the whole thing.
I don't think it is. Not when it comes to the film.
Mufasa's funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny.
It's like I don't look at the outtakes of Shaun of the Dead and go, "Oh, that wasn't as funny as the movie."
It's still
that's
acting.
ruined
They
it.
should do their part.
Shut up.
If you're gonna do outtakes like that, you have to do.
That's a ridiculous statement.
No. In the outtakes in the cartoon,
Which is staged.
yes,
Yeah.
that should be. You're still acting it.
Yeah, but it's not.
Outtakes in the real movie.
I'm sorry. If I was voice acting in a film and they said, "Hey, can you come back and just do some outtakes for fun?" I'd go, "Yeah, sure," and I would not take it seriously. I would not try to act in that, to a certain degree. I do the voice of the character.
When it's being animated like that, you should respect how long it takes for the animators to actually animate that part of the scene for you to do the outtake. So put some effort into it.
I didn't think the video was going to go this way, but it's kind of interesting. It's at least it's
We're reviewing The Lion King.
No, you're reviewing you're reviewing the special features.
It's still part of The Lion King.
I don't think it is. I don't think the outtakes are part of the
Monsters
movie.
Inc. Love the outtakes. So funny.
Yeah, those are kind of incorporated into the credits, though, aren't they? So that's kind of a different. I think that's slightly different.
It's your fault. You started the movie with it.
I was just waiting for you before we started watching the film. Right, okay. Seriously now, the film itself.
Most of the voice acting is amazing.
So you do like it, even though you didn't grow up with it in terms of the English version? That's interesting.
I can't remember what the Norwegian one is like because I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
But you loved it when you were a kid with the Norwegian voices. It didn't kind of...
I loved it as a kid, yes. But I wouldn't enjoy watching it now as an adult because I hate dubbed stuff.
Okay.
But... I know pretty much. Oh, I Can't Wait to Be King. That song, we sang that when I was in music school, and so I know that by heart in Norwegian. So when I hear it in English, it's weird.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. So I think the voice cast is great. I love Jeremy Irons as Scar. He's a very theatrical performance. It really fits the visual.
Yes,
and just I think
perfectly so.
And just the visuals in general. I love how theatrical it is, how expressive the characters are. Again, we're not going to talk about the new film really, but it's really fitting, I think. But the music for me is what really drives the film. Not just the songs, but the score even. I think the scene at the very end, spoilers, when Simba slowly goes up the rock, the rain's pouring down and the music's building up. It's a fucking incredible scene. Like the emotion that comes through just that music, and obviously what you're seeing and what that that visual symbol means of him reclaiming the mantle and everything, and how the whole film is about him getting to that spot. Basically, he gets driven away from home, and then he's got to find his way back, and it's a really tough thing to do in a film for kids, where you kill off a character like that with Mufasa's
Well, that's
death.
Disney for you.
It is Disney. I mean, they've stayed true to that formula. There's usually a death, but yeah, I mean, it's a really effective moment, the death of Mufasa, and James Earl Jones, incredible as Mufasa. I loved him in the new one as well, but there's his voice just carries a power to it. Like it fits the visual of this very strong and regal,
Well,
king.
he plays strong characters, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And there's again emotion. It just does all the right things. There's nothing we can say. I don't think that's going to be like someone's going to be like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Now, you know The Lion King. It's one of those films where it's been over explained and over talked about. But coming back to it, I hadn't seen it since I bought the Blu-ray probably 8 years ago. It was great revisiting it, And there are little bits that I've forgotten about. Little bits that I didn't know that I knew so well, if that makes sense. Like, I'd be hearing the next line in my head before it came without really realizing.
Well, I couldn't do that. But,
yeah, it's different, isn't it?
But I know what's happening next.
Rowan Atkinson as Zazu, the bird.
Is he?
Yeah, so Mr. Bean himself.
I didn't know that.
He's fun, Timon and Pumbaa are just great characters.
Yeah.
I love that whole section of the film. It's so fun.
Pumbaa is super fun.
Yeah, it's see all that stuff. I just think they did such a great job of making it a fun film. It balances so many things.
The hyenas are funny.
Yeah.
But I actually, just to put something in from the new one, just to compare a little bit.
Yeah, we can do a little bit.
I actually enjoy the hyenas in the new movie a lot more. Because they had so much personality. Because one of them was so much like Sylvia's cat.
Oh, yeah.
There's this cat named Ozzy, and he just slumps down. He doesn't care about anything. He'll just like, usually cats like do a little circle before they lay down, but he just like goes to spot, poof, and then he just collapses. That's the hyena. That was funny.
Yeah. And there were elements to the new one that I enjoyed. But yeah, the original is the original. Oh no, I should say the original
the
is
94
original.
version.
Yeah. You get kind of, especially with Kimber, kind of throws another spanner in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was saying, there's so much to it. There's a coming of age story. There's real emotion in the death of Mufasa and Simba returning and growing up. But then there's so much fun and humor as well that's weaved into it. And then there's like the songs, which add another element, I think. There's a little bit of romance there, I guess, with Nala and that kind of storyline, which isn't, I guess, the strongest part of the film.
A little bit of romance. They do have a kid in the end, you know?
Yeah, but that's not
I
part of the story.
I believe there's a lot of romance happening there.
That just appears at the end. It isn't really focused on too much.
No outtakes for that.
Although there is The Lion King 2, which we haven't. Well, I think I've seen it. You probably haven't.
showed me 2 and 3, but I don't remember any.
No, I didn't for sure. If I've seen them, it was when I was a kid. I don't remember. Definitely haven't shown them to you.
Then I haven't seen them.
Yeah, definitely. Rafiki,
They're
great
kind of
character.
like Home Alone 3, I think, probably.
Yeah, the kind of the direct-to-video sequels, which, Rafiki, I love that character as well, and the mysticism he brings to it. There's a little bit of Yoda in him without really any dialogue. Well, no, there is dialogue in that scene when he's like, I know your father. What?
New bloopers, and Rafiki's like falling and dropping Simba off the cliff.
Yeah, that would be a great culmination to the Circle of Life sequence. Rafiki just like, it's a Circle of Life that the editor's ready with like the title, poof, Lion King, just, touch. Simba bouncing out of the thing. Lion King comes out, no, just do it again.
Never mind, cut.
Yeah. The game, which we both played when we were kids.
Yeah, on Sega.
Yes, a Sega version of The Lion King. Devilishly hard game for me. But
I completed it a couple of times, though.
Yeah, I remember playing the final, because you fight Scar at the end, don't you? Yeah, and I'm not even sure.
Because you grow up.
Yeah. I can only remember the first couple of levels, because I mainly would get stuck on the first 2 levels. It was the main, I guess, in the Pride Lands, and then I think the second level is like with the giraffes.
Yeah, giraffes and the yeah, it's the Can't Wait to Be King song in the background. Yeah. And it's basically like what you see in the movie as well. And then you have the monkeys, and you have to go through the tree and then turn the monkeys by roaring at them so that they will throw you in the right direction over to the other side. And you're like scaring beetles, like they fall on their back when you're roaring and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that as well.
And then when you meet... Oh yeah, no, you meet the hyenas in the elephant graveyard.
Yes.
And you grow up after meeting Timon and Pumbaa. Oh, no. The chasing scene with the buffaloes.
The stampede, yeah.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
And then it's all sad and all that. And then it's Timon and Pumbaa, and you climb up this waterfall. I remember you have to jump up on these lumber thingies up a waterfall and so on. I don't know if you're still a kid when you do that or grown up.
I just remember, is it when you die or when the game starts? He's like, it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever I see that in the film, I always think of the game quite vividly.
When you die, I think it's just Simba sitting like...
Oh, yeah. Right.
Sitting like that.
Sure.
In Aladdin, I think it's the same.
Yeah, so
which is also a decent game.
Yeah, that's tied in with my memory of Aladdin as well. Anyway, so I guess we'll just... It's been a very rambly video of a lot of different topics, often not of the actual movie itself, but it all ties in some way. The game from our youth, Kimber from our recent memory, finding out about this stuff.
Crashing our dream.
Yeah, crushing everything.
Crushing.
But yeah, it's such a great film. It's so like vivid and like vibrant. The colors, it's so well done. Such a great story told really, really, really well. And as an adult, it still holds up, which sometimes these kids movies don't as well. And it's become, excuse me, I'll leave that one in for free. It's become this huge like juggernaut as well in terms of the musical, which apparently is very good and has been running for decades now. And obviously they just did the new movie.
Decades.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've been running that for like at least 20 years, the stage
Which
production.
reminds me of a movie you have to watch with me soon.
Cats.
Yes.
Kind of links in with Lion King just a little bit. Anyway, so The Lion King, the 1994 movie, is a film you should see before you die.
Yeah. And we're going to show our kids.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of go through that process, I think, of showing them films like that. And what?
Well, will it be interesting? It's just something that has to happen.
Yeah, no, but it'd be interesting to see.
They're going to grow up with Disney.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see what they latch on to. You know, will they be like, oh, you know, next?
Well, they'll be too young to know that anything else exists. Frozen will not exist in this house. Will it, Sensei?
I like Frozen. It's a good film.
It's not bad. It's just not as good as everything else.
Just let it go. Just let it go. Right. Sorry. It was right there. It was awful, but it was right there. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite Disney films. Might be the top one, though. Moana has really climbed up there. So not as good, but you know, I'd say Lion King is probably still my number one. I'd say Disney films.
Oh, okay.
And I would say yes, it is a film you should see before you die in terms of animated films.
Tricky one, I gotta say.
Right, that's a whole other video, top Disney films. But yeah, I think it's just a great film. It really is, and I don't feel like the Kimba stuff really ruins that for me. Just loses a little bit of respect around the making of it, I think. But I can separate myself from that and enjoy the film for what it is, which is a freaking great film. So. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up on
Lion King is my number one nostalgic
okay, yeah.
of the Disney movies.
Okay.
But the second you mentioned Moana, I just felt like a love for it and how I can watch it again and again and again and again and again. Whereas the Lion King is kind of like every 10 years. So I guess Moana is my favorite. It actually hurts the child in me to say it.
Well, our taste changed.
But Lion King is my favorite nostalgic
sure.
Disney movies that touches home in a different way.
Yeah.
Moana's just more enjoyable. Oh, it hurts. Well, you shouldn't have stolen it, should you, Disney? Sorry.
Oh, it's just almost like, you know... Anyway, right, we'll just leave it there because we're really rambling now. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
It ends.